brought me there. I partially did feel like the election was stolen. I now strongly, I view it to have 100% been stolen, as shown by the Hunter Biden, the Twitter files and the Hunter Biden laptop statistics showing how much people would have voted differently. But the biggest thing for me was the government overreach in the lockdowns. I thought that was completely unconstitutional, them shutting down our businesses and churches for a virus that, even if you believed all the death rates, killed 0.02%. So it's like 2 people out of 1,000, if you believe the numbers. Yeah, it was, hey Corinne, if you, I just did not agree with that. I also was like, I want to show support for Trump. I thought it was going to probably be the last rally that he had. My friends had told me it was fun. But I also wanted to show up because I had seen the earlier rallies in D.C. and saw that Antifa members had come out and said, I want to defend against them. I was not like an MMA fighter or anything, but I was a wrestler. I was like, I'll come out. Lots of Trump supporters tended, in my mind, to be older. I was like, I'll come out and, defend. But I showed up at about 12 o'clock at night at the Ellipse, 16 to 19 blocks away from the Capitol. And then by 3 in the morning, it was clear to me Antifa was not at least going to be attacking us, it seemed. So I had my friend pick up my what I bought at a Baltimore Walmart, my trash can lid, shield, and my flag that I was going to use to potentially smash some heads. But Antifa heads, if they came to attack. Self-defense, But yeah, went to the rally, got into VIP. It was really cool. And get down to the Capitol, though. A lot of people don't bring up that the Capitol was actually the grounds were actually being pushed on while Trump was still speaking 16 to 19 blocks away. So yeah, when most of us got down there after his speech, the grounds were already overran. But here's the important thing to know. People say, you should have known. Like, I cross-examined Captain Mendoza of the Capitol Police, right, during my trial. You should have known that, this is what she said, you should have known that you shouldn't be going, that you're not allowed in the Capitol grounds. But as I brought up to my jurors, and they snickered, which was funny. My goal was to entertain them, but this is the truth. 2 weeks prior, I need some water. 2 to 3 weeks prior, I had sex in front of the Albany Capitol, and brought that up to my jurors. They laughed. Thought it was like, yes, but it's true. But on top of that, you're able to go into certain parts in there with no issue. But also, there's other capitals. You have to keep in mind, there's people from all across the country that have been inside their capitals. Michigan Capitol, you can walk in with guns. I think that's the case for a lot of places. So a lot of people are confused and thinking they also had more rights than they did inside the Capitol. It's called the People's House. The government has actually long established for decades that it's such a confusing place that typically the ignorance of the law thing, where ignorance of the law is no excuse, they actually have an exemption to that both in D.C. and also the Capitol, where they use the terms knowingly in the statute. So the jurors, for all these January 6 cases, have to go through the knowing, they have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that you knew you were breaking it. Typically the way to pass through that threshold has been to prove that they gave you a dispersal warning, they gave you time to comply, and also they shared with you what statute you were breaking, because we're unfamiliar with it. It's a very confusing place. Anytime in the past, if they haven't done that, for instance, Barham v. Ramsey, a DC Circuit case, they've thrown the cases out. But with us, they did the opposite. But anyhow, I get inside there. I wasn't sure what was happening. I saw a break-in in one area, and I saw that they did not want people in there in that location, thinking maybe it was sensitive. But it was very exciting. So I was like, we were falsely told in that area, along with lots of other areas, that Mike Pence certified the election, which obviously didn't happen later, but most of us would not find out till later because the phones are being jammed in the area. If you've heard about those phones being jammed, have you heard of that?
I haven't.
Okay. Police officers had their phones getting jammed. I myself and other people were having their phones jammed. So it was tough to look that kind of stuff up. So you hear that and we're like, wait, we just got here, what the heck? So I think of that, at that stage, people are like, oh, well, this makes no sense. Why would they show up to protest and then go for Mike Pence? That's the narrative that they push. It's just not, that part's not true. I don't know what this guy's saying, but
what's happening?
I don't know.
So what was your experience like inside the DC jail?
Well, for a long time, it was absolutely horrendous. So for 2 years, we were not allowed to have visitations from our family. We're people from all over the country, not allowed to visit family. And what else was there? There was also, what was it? Yeah, so they didn't give us haircuts in there. If you wanted to get a haircut, you'd have to burn your hair off chemically. So I had to do that with Magic Shave. That was not good. It says like don't use it on your hair, but it's like you could either look like a caveman or not. And I wanted to not look like a caveman. What else was there? Oh, I'd be left inside the cells for long periods of time. There was like 23-1, which the Supreme Court has ruled in the past, even for people on death row. 22 and 2 is considered cruel and unusual punishment. We should have been out for more than that. No religious services. A lot of our mail was not going out and or coming in for long periods of time. And then I actually subpoenaed the DDA of the jail, she ended up lying about a lot of the conditions, and so I fortunately was just blessed with the opportunity to be able to record videos inside the jail. So I don't know if you've seen those, but you'd go on the Gateway Pundit DC and you type in Google DC jail videos Brennan Fellows, and you can see some of the videos that I released showing the conditions, showing the DDA lied. Judge didn't do anything about that, but eventually I got kicked out of the jail for things related to that. Got kicked out of another jail down in Northern Neck, and but really, what the media doesn't bring up is we've done an amazing job bringing reforms to the jail, especially myself. I got Charlemagne the God saying "Donkey of the Day" because I supposedly accidentally told my judge that I was going to put his wife's number down as my emergency contact, but that wasn't an accident. I told him I was purposely going to do that as a proffer for I didn't care. Whether the truth looked bad on me or not, and then also they didn't need to know that information. And I said, hey, look, I'm not in here to make myself seem good. Like, I'll share something bad with you. That was a proffer for them, and they twisted that, but they don't bring up for the fact that, like, hey, this dude with no law experience did what six-figure attorneys have been trying to do for the DC jail tons of times. Prove the Prison Litigation Reform Act was totally broken, which helped to bring about reforms that the jail needed. I'm glad it's been fixed up a lot. It still definitely needs some work, especially the drugs inside there. The drugs are everywhere. The community wants to make it better. Maybe they could focus on that. Get a K-9 unit at the entrance or something.
So what does being released mean to you? What do you want to do with your new freedom, and what does today mean to you?
So I got a letter just a little bit before leaving, and it said, hey, if you go back to your life as that, the way you were living prior to 2019, this was in a sense all for nothing. And I kind of was like, damn, that hits hard, because like I kind of agreed with it. And I wasn't planning to do that exactly, but I knew if I was in New York right now, I wouldn't be as active. And I kind of feel blessed to be in the DC area, because no one else out of the almost 1,400 of us now is being allowed in the DC area. And I'm like, man, what are the odds? I mean, it's just been both, like, the curses have been like, yeah, it feels like a curse as it happens, but it's actually turned out for blessings, because the media doesn't ever report this, but we've actually brought tremendous change to the jails. And I mean, it's just, I do think that God used what was meant for bad for good in a lot of senses. It feels interesting being out. I'm still getting used to it. I've had a tougher time sleeping because I got used to like the screaming at night. So the kind of peace and quiet of like, I'm like, it's naturally like not sleeping as great. But talked to my uncle who was in the military and came back from multiple deployments. He said that should go away in between a couple weeks and months. So, but yeah, I was very social in jail too. I talked to a lot of people, so it's not like, I'm like having to cope with something like that. But yeah, it's just good to be around, like, this is a much healthier environment. Even though it's DC, I've actually been enjoying the people here. I've talked to Democrats and stuff. They're very surprised about the conditions that we were under. And they're actually surprised that I think they think of us as all like white supremacists and, or like racists, and like they are uneducated. And when they have a conversation with somebody and they're like, wait, this dude's calm, he's not screaming. Like this dude's like eloquently discussing like, stuff, a lot of which I agree with. That they agree with, like the jail conditions need to be changed. So I like to see what common ground we have with people, but yeah. This is my neighborhood. Sorry. Anyhow, hopefully I think that answered your question. I don't know.
Can you just tell me a little bit about today's event and why you're out there?
Yeah, so we're marching for justice. Today's Memorial Day, so we remember our veterans. Ashli Babbitt was a veteran for the Air Force, and so we would like to, overall, I know the group would like justice fully brought for the murder of Ashli Babbitt by Lieutenant Byrd, but I think a good start would at least be an investigation, because all the investigations from what I've seen have been closed into Ashli Babbitt, into Lieutenant Bird's shooting. And I at least would like to start there. And, you know, believe it or not, what are the odds, too? So my roommate was actually Helmet Boy for a while, if you're familiar with the term Helmet Boy. The man who Zachary Alam smashed the window out that she ended up climbing through.
Oh, yes, I've seen
He was my roommate for a while. And from my knowledge, he was attempting through his lawyer, Metcalf, from New York, Jonathan Metcalf, they attempted to try to call Bird up there. And to my knowledge, you know, I haven't checked since being in jail, but they were not able to do that. I don't remember what the reason was, but yeah. So
sorry,
I would at least like to know I would like to know, like, hey, let's figure out more of what happened. You know, at the very least, that's me. That's me speaking.
Just to clarify, he was your bunkmate in jail?
Yes,
oh,
yeah,
okay.
for a while. I moved to 11 different jails, and I was kicked out of 2 jails. So, not the whole time, for a period of time, he was my roommate. Yeah.
Very interesting. Well, anything else you'd like to add?
Well, I'm in DC, and I'm doing my part, even in this city, like arguably the most Democrat city in the nation, and I think it is. I think, if I remember correctly, Joe Biden supposedly won New York City by 63%. If those numbers are accurate, and I think this area was either 93 or 97%. So I'm out here trying to open people's eyes too while I'm here about January 6th, about our jail conditions, trying to make it better, but also I'm happy to talk about and try to talk people into why Trump was such a great president, why we need him again. So that's what I'm doing here, putting my company on hold, rebuilding my company. So, and I'll be down here just kind of doing that, and then I plan to be back in the upstate, you know, currently. Things could always change, but I'd like to maybe in a year go back upstate and rebuild my company again.
What's your company?
It was a chimney company.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So,
all right.
I had a tree company too, but yeah, I'm just looking to jump into chimneys again.